Hello guys, we recently saw the release of the Switch 2 and the reviews are finally here, and honestly they don't seem that great. But first, let's take a deep dive into the Switch 2 and see actually what's new. First, the Switch 2 launched in June 5 of 2025 with a price of $415. In comparison, the Switch 1 launched at $300, the OLED at $350 and the Lite at $200. And now for the controllers. For the Joy-Con 2, it uses a new magnetic attachment instead of the old sliding rails. It has a larger and smoother buttons, no interface sensor and a 20 hours long battery. A new cool feature is that it can act as a mouse for some of the supported games. Also, it has a new button called the C button for voice chat and screen sharing, which is a new exciting feature. For the Switch 2 Pro controllers, which are sold separately by the way, look very similar to the old ones, but as a headphone jack, new 2 buttons and the voice/video chat controls. The Switch 2 Pro controller launched at $80, but then it was raised to $85. And now for one of the most exciting parts, the bigger screen. It's a large 7.9-inch LCD with a native 1080p 120Hz refresh rate and supports up to 4K but 60Hz when docked. For comparison, the Switch 1 OLED has a 7-inch OLED screen, also LCD, a 720p resolution and around 60Hz refresh rate. Now for the performance. We saw a big gap in performance. The Switch 2 comes with a custom NVIDIA Tegra processor, 12GB of RAM, which is 3 times more than the previous generation, and 128GB of storage or 256. It supports DLSS, ray tracing, and it can deliver up to double the performance in some games, and notably the game load faster and run more smoothly both in new and old games. Now for the accessories. For the Joy-Con 2 set, it has a whopping $94 price tag, even though it was improved, but many players have still reported issues like stick drift. For the Pro controllers, it comes, as we said, with a price tag of $85 and the charging grip with a whopping $49. We have also an optional USB-C camera for video game chat and microSD Express support for faster and expanded storage. You can buy them separately. 6. The build and quality. The Switch 2 has massively improved the build quality and stronger Joy-Con attachment. But early reviews mentioned that battery life is significantly worse than the OLED version. We're talking about 100 hours difference. But in the other side, the audio is noticeably better, but also Bluetooth latency seems to be a big problem. Now, bonus information. We have backward compatibility. The Switch 2 plays almost all the games of the Switch 1 and you can transfer the data from your Switch 1 to your Switch 2. But older games unfortunately run at 720p, but you can buy what they call an expansion pack so that you can play them in 1080p, which for the launch lineup we have very few games. So at this point the value really depends on the older game and the few new games. And lastly, the software and UI. The interface is still pretty basic, almost the same, with minor changes. But there's a new eShop and a game chat support. But overall, not a big change. Yet, I'm sure this will improve with time. Especially that the Switch 2 has just released, in 2 months or so, the game prices. It's so sad that the Switch 2 games are so expensive. Even the old games are more expensive. We're talking about $10 to $20 of difference. And we should not forget the expansion pack. And many players have been complaining about this. And now for the final thoughts. So we've seen along the videos a lot of good things and also bad things about the Switch 2. And yes, we get a big performance gap, a lot of new features, but also we get one of the worst battery life. In this category, Joy-Con concerns and limited games library, which, as I said, I'm sure that it will change. And for my final advice, I personally suggest that we wait and maybe see what other competitors are doing and what are they giving. Thanks all for watching and for sticking with me. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and see you in the next one.